Every change has a pioneer that is called upon to go out, a different level of courage, different level of obedience, different level of faith, and go ahead and do what they're called to do. Pat, it's been a blessing to get to know you, and to now you get to be the beneficiaries of your pioneering. Thank you so much.
Well, when you speak, you usually tell some sweet joke or something, to make yourself relax as well as everyone else. And so James did that. But I thought this morning, what am I going to say first before I get all serious on you and maybe cry? I thought, gee, when I put on my sandals, I forgot to get a pedicure. And I threw these shoes in, and then I thought, no, that'll just draw their attention to my toes. But he shared about an anniversary card. My parents were actually married for 75 years. But my husband was not a romantic, a wonderful, wonderful, godly man, but not a romantic. So one year, finally, I got the courage, when he was giving me a birthday card, to say, honey, I really appreciate this, but you just cannot send the kids to go look through the rack on a romantic birthday card and bring it back for you to say, love Dick. You really do need to go out, please. I'd rather not have one unless you go and actually have to go through those romantic cards and think those good thoughts towards me. So the next birthday or anniversary rolled around. He came all proud of himself with a little card with my name on it. And I opened it up, and it was mushy as mushy gets. And I read the whole thing, and he's standing there so proud. And I looked at him and I said, this is beautiful, honey, but it's my birthday, not our anniversary. That's been told many times. Well, what started me in my thinking of being up here with you, and thank you for coming. It's very, very important to us old-timers that you have showed up and care about this ministry. But I was thinking about the prayer, part of the Lord's Prayer, of thy kingdom come, thy will be done. It says on this earth, but I say on this city, that it will be as things are in heaven. And we say that so casually. We say that prayer without a belief system in us. And it has stirred me up. Why would Jesus tell us to pray that if he wasn't willing to see it fulfilled? So I hope today, of all you'll hear and all the wonderful things, you will go away with that prayer with a new belief that Jesus would not have told us to pray that way if he isn't willing to fulfill it. So it really is, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth in this city as if it is in heaven. So I'm supposed to speak very quickly. That's why I had 4 cups of coffee. About pioneering YWAM here. My husband and I joined in the 80s YWAM because of these particular words. Another good thing for you to take home, that's YWAM words. Do new things in new ways to reach new people. And we had come out of church ministry, and we wanted to do new things and new ways to reach new people. But we were kind of entrapped with taking care of the existing people. And so that was those words, when we heard it, we thought, oh boy, that sounds like us. So in pioneering, and for us anyway, it kind of came in waves. And there was some sidetrack things that came along, which is generally either of the devil or it is God also. He was bringing us into a place of more maturity for what faced us, which was this city. So the first thing in our pioneering was praying and worshiping for months, probably years, thinking about this city. We felt the city was broken in many places spiritually, and we had hoped and prayed that we could participate in some way. Just this silly little couple that was driving around on a motorcycle in this city for many months before anything actually started. But it was, I think, our prayer life. It was hearing the cry of the city itself and following what God had given us, promises, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. And so we were introduced spiritually by God through the book of Nehemiah. I don't know if you're really familiar with that, but Nehemiah himself was heard about the brokenness of Jerusalem, that the walls had gone down, and he had a great job. Yet he had this really sorrow in his heart about what was happening in Jerusalem. So he had to go, he finally had to respond to that. He went to the king and he asked the king if he could leave and he could go to Jerusalem and help rebuild the walls. The king finally let him go, although he had a great job, so there's the risk. He had to leave the great job, take off and go to Jerusalem. He was a masterful administrator. There was a priest there, Ezra, but it wasn't helping get the walls. But he was able to gather people together and have mutual vision and work together to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, that the people in itself would be safe and secure and not have raiders, and they could listen to the word of God being spoken through Ezra. So that was our model. We thought, well, if Nehemiah can do it, we can do it. The thing with YWAM that some of you may not know is they commend you. And so we went to our elders that were over us at that time and asked them, shared the vision of starting and pioneering YWAM San Francisco. They were great about commending us. They laid hands on us, they gathered people around, they prayed, and we went out and with our own checkbook. So there's the risk in YWAM. You don't have a benefactor over here all set up that gives you funds for you to get. So the best and greatest thing about that is faith. If you've heard God and you're ready to move out, you're saying at the same time, well, where you guide, you need to provide. And so we had that. The other thing that kind of led us was the risk of failure. And in anything that you start new, whether it's pioneering a whole ministry, whether it's starting a program, you always face the risk of failure. That's a good thing to have that. And to have people around you that love you so much that when you fail, they'll pick you up. And we had a couple times like that as we pioneered, when things didn't happen exactly as we did, and there were lots of tears. But the risk was all worth it. The one thing that in this process of following Nehemiah was the much prayer that went before it. So when we finally began to establish YWAM San Francisco, the Lord spoke very specifically to me about prayer. Here's the tears. The Lord said, I want you to walk and pray the circumference of this entire city. I want you to hem it in with my spirit. I want you to do that all by yourself. So I started. Once in a while, someone would join me. Even my very strong Catholic brother, he wanted to do that with me. This is his city, he's never left it. And I said, it's fine, but you can't talk. You can only pray. So I was able to do that. Now, you can't do that in just one day. So I would park my car, walk, take a bus back to my car, come a different day, pick up, walk. But after that happened, things began to break through, so I knew that God really wants us to humbly come before Him and pray about any new effort. Anything we're to do, everything precedes that with prayer. So the other wave that came was after praying for the city and studying the book of Nehemiah and how does he do all of this, I came to a conclusion that Nehemiah left too early. He did it, he has accomplished it, he was able to gather people together. They brought their goods and resources to help build the walls. He was great at communicating the need and what they had to do. He even trained people that had another profession to know how to lay rocks or brick or whatever the wall was made out of. Yet, when he was finished, there was great rejoicing. And then he left. It doesn't say he went back to the king, but he left. And it came to me that he left too soon, because what happened? The walls began to come down again. There was chaos. There was no peace. Everything was a mess again. And so the lesson for us in that was build teams, so that pioneers love to leave. They love to come, but they love to leave. They love the next thing that's ahead. So I learned from that. My husband learned from that. We can't leave until there were two things. Groups of people that were committed to the vision and the hope, that they would stay, that they would stick with it. And the second thing is that they would definitely be prayers, that they would know that the foundation of anything is praying. And so we were fortunate enough to have the privilege to work alongside teams. And it was so fun. We became fast friends. They still exist. You know, I got a text this morning and says, what's happening in San Francisco? Can I get there? I'm flying into San Francisco tonight. I said, too late. You missed it. But it was those kinds of people that stayed. as we launched out to do other things. So Nehemiah taught us that he didn't have it set up before he left. So I think, you know, there was some side things that happened that Tim gave me a definite go to say, but I think that's kind of it, is the faith, the prayer, the knowing that you're hearing God, that you're willing to take the risk to move out without all your ducks lined up, and wait on God. There were times when we were tempted to go and claim resources somewhere else to help us, and yet then God came back and said, no, you just wait upon me, I will build this ministry in my timing. And look, you're all here. You look at this building, you look at the predecessors that kept this ministry going. It wasn't gonna die. And that was what is God's favor upon this. So I thank you so much. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. He said it. That is how we're to pray. So let's keep that in mind as we go forth in all our lives, whether the marketplace or nursing or whatever our position is, that we go with that prayer, that we go and do those kinds of things before us. So I thank you very much.